Welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Zero's podcast.
Misery, misery, misery. That's what you've chosen.
It's episode 73. I'm Lucas, your host. As always, my co-host, Alex.
Hello.
God. Episode 73, we got no Lions talk today, unfortunately. There just hasn't been a whole lot going on.
You dumb bitch.
But we're going to talk about some fun shit.
For those of you who are still here after hearing that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some fun shit.
It's cocktail hour. It's the first ever Gridiron Zero's cocktail hour.
First ever Gridiron Zero's cocktail hour. And then we're going to talk about the AFC South and kind of the dumpster fire division that it is.
Dumpster fire with some bright spots, maybe. But yeah,
Dumpster fire that is burning bright.
A lot of that, yes. No notes. Perfect.
All right. No notes. Let's jump into it. Al, surprise challenge. Guess this player. He started out in New Orleans and went to New England, then LA, back to Houston, and then to Dallas.
Oh, Brandon Cooks.
That's right. That was a little surprise challenge for Al. I'll probably mix those into the episode here and there.
Oh my God!
A little bit of a different show this week. There's not a whole lot of news to cover. I think the biggest thing that's happened recently is that the Arizona Cardinals have released DeAndre Hopkins. I think that officially got processed today, the day of Wednesday, May 31st.
I think that and the Jimmy G
and the
stuff
Jimmy
is
G
probably
news.
the two big stories this week. But
nothing's come of those two pieces yet.
We're getting into the summer. It's just OTAs right now. Nothing crazy to talk about. So thought we'd do something a little different.
All it is bullshit rumors. Where's D-Hop going to go? Are the Raiders continuing with Jimmy G? Who knows? Who cares? We will cover it once it actually comes to fulfillment. Instead, we got a little bit of an outside-the-box segment.
QB cocktails with
QB
Lucas.
cocktails. So I have put together cocktails. Some of them have scenarios, like where you purchase the cocktail, how you purchase the cocktail, who makes it, et cetera, et cetera. And they all relate to a quarterback in the NFL. There's connections that you have to make with the descriptions I'm making to determine what quarterback I'm thinking of. And also, I'll go through the description and you will guess which quarterback it is. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get into it. The first one up, it's a fully loaded Bloody Mary. It's got, the sausages, sausage straw, olives.
Is that a normal Bloody Mary thing, the sausage straw? Or is that just like a...
No, I think that's just a Detroit thing.
Okay, because yeah, I think Ford Field is the only spot, or Detroit bars are the only spots that I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Carry on.
It's got, top shelf vodka. It's got all the best ingredients to really bring out the most in the tomato juice.
The bells and whistles.
Yes. Who do you think I'm talking about?
So it's a quarterback, obviously.
Yes, these are all quarterbacks.
How about Joe Burrow?
Now, if I would have said this at the beginning, I want to see if you would have gotten it. I was going to say this is an easy one.
Did I get it?
No.
Yeah, you're drunk. You're drunk. Give me your keys.
Then definitely not an easy one. I feel like I should get one guess, and then that should be it. So you got a couple of these. So.
Jared Goff.
Why? Because
he needs the best ingredients around him to bring the best out of him.
It's a good way to frame it up. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And as somebody who hates Bloody Marys, I would need a lot of good ingredients to actually make that shit tolerable.
I'm not a fan either.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
So it makes sense in the long run, right?
I feel like I'm drinking pasta sauce. I don't love it.
You order a Negroni at an upscale bar. The bartender does 4 flips with the bottle and then pours it and charges you $50 for the cocktail. And it's a Negroni.
So I'm sensing the analogy here is that it's overpriced not necessarily getting great value for it, but it's got like the like appearance of a really good drink. How about Kirk Cousins? Does Kirk Cousins fit that at all?
I would have done something different with Kirk. That was Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's pretty good too. That's pretty, yeah. Because really timely right now because you're literally not getting anything.
Overvalued. And you know what? A Negroni is a very sexy drink. And,
I love it. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's a very classy drink, and it's very bitter. Leaves you with a very bitter aftertaste.
It's also perfect because it's like it's a very specific drink.
Yeah.
But like, if it's your drink, it's really your drink.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like nobody's ordering a Negroni, but if you order a Negroni, you know what you're getting.
Like, and that fits the 49ers. That fits the Raiders. I guess the Patriots to an extent, but the other two teams much more so. Carry on.
I will be amazed. I will give you $20 if you get this right. A mint julep found on a urinal.
Do you know what a mint julep is?
I looked up classic cocktails before this. Yes, I know what a mint julep is. A mint julep found on a urinal, on top of a urinal. You know how people usually will set their drinks when they're taking a piss?
Yeah.
Found on top of a urinal at a dive bar where the Kentucky Derby plays on a TV with bad color in the background.
All right. I think that in my head, there's only one person this could be. I'm going to say Zach Wilson.
Oh, man, that's a really good guess.
Because obviously terrible, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
The green of a mint julep makes me think Jets.
Yeah.
You said Kentucky Derby, right?
Yeah.
Where do you go to college?
He went to BYU.
Where's BYU again?
Utah.
Well, that was kind of a swing and a miss. Zach Wilson.
Kentucky, Utah.
Not close.
Same thing.
Not close. I forgot he went to school for a minute. So if all three of those connected, though, would have been a pretty good guess.
It was a very good guess. I actually put that down as Russell Wilson.
Why?
Because, like, you want to feel like you're at the Kentucky Derby when in reality you're sitting on top of a urinal at a dive bar, but the Kentucky Derby's playing in the background.
That's harsh. That's harsh. Yeah, one bad year.
Okay, but the league is recency bias. What have you done for me recently, league? Right?
It's true.
So, and mint julep, and the reason I tied it in because mint juleps are like, I don't want to say only had at the Kentucky Derby, but I would say a majority of the years mint juleps are drank at the Kentucky Derby. And Russell Wilson just seems like a huge Kentucky Derby guy.
I thought you were going for like a Broncos horse connection there, maybe a little bit. But
I didn't even pick up on that. But that's really good. That also ties in. And the way he dresses, I feel like is just very Kentucky Derby vibes. I don't know.
I love how most of these drinks are just like savage attacks at all these men, but yeah.
Well, this one not so much.
Okay.
Espresso martini, smooth, caffeinated, beans.
Beans. That's the last one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That has a tie-in.
Oh, okay.
But
one more time. What's the description?
Smooth, caffeinated, beans.
How about Justin Herbert?
Oh, you were so close. Got the first name right. Right? Justin Fields?
Okay.
Smooth runner.
Okay.
Caffeinated.
Not a smooth thrower of the football, but
electric, caffeinated. Herbert's also a little bit electric. But how did you get Herbert with beans?
That's the one I couldn't connect.
Chicago. The Chicago bean.
Oh, okay. Makes more sense.
It's so stupid.
No, that's nonsense. That's garbage.
If you don't get this one, this will be for nothing. Manhattan at the seediest speakeasy possible.
At the seediest speakeasy possible. I guess I'm going to throw out Rogers.
That is correct.
Because, well, that's the three reasons. First one being Manhattan,
New
right?
York.
Seedy because he's a slime ball.
Yeah.
And then there was one, oh yeah, because he's also like a bourbon, whiskey, Scotch guy.
That is a note that I have in here, but did not have it down. I also put old.
Old is good too. Yeah.
The Manhattan was invented, I believe, in like 1848.
Hey, you know what's the other good one? I don't like Manhattans.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. It really does.
Actually, Manhattans are not that bad. If you ever had them before. I'm a big fan of Scotch myself. But Seedy Speakeasy, I feel like that was definitely a tie-in to Roger's personality. Like,
okay.
He would definitely go to a speakeasy.
Kind of the hipster, like, I'm better than bars. So I'm going to go to like somewhere. There's a spot like that in Detroit that's that vibe. It's literally like a hidden bar, like a speakeasy. Anyways,
all right. These next ones are going to be just brutally tough, and I don't expect you to get any of these.
Okay. Well, I've gotten how many so far? One.
One.
Yeah, 1 for 5. Okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. This one's also a little bit out there, but 1950s. Martini your wife has ready for you when you arrive from home.
See, that one I would have guessed Russ. Because it's like, because that one's like like all face, like super hacky, like, you know what I mean? Like that feels like a cheesy Russell Wilson drink to me. But who does fit that? Now I'm trying to like rifle through my brain. Like, if you mentioned like wife hands it to you, like is that something I need to consider here?
Not really. It's more so the idea that it's classic. It's it doesn't fail. It's a good cocktail, and that's how it's portrayed, right? It's like that is the American dream, right? You get home from work, your wife has a martini waiting for you, ready to go.
Oh man, I have no idea.
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah, let's get a hint here.
You've guessed this player already.
I'm gonna go with Joe Burrow.
That's a goddamn good job, Al.
Because I guess he kind of fits like the suave,
yeah, exactly.
Classic American dude.
Yep.
Not American gentleman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. Now you're getting it.
Okay.
Yep. Martini is also like you could just see Joe Burrow drinking one of those at the bar. Full on suit, bow tie, everything, like, and he would rock it.
Right. Yeah.
He would make it look cool, like James Bond. All right, these next three have no descriptions.
Okay.
But I can give you one. I can give you one hint on each of these. I can give you one hint on each of these. Long Island iced tea.
All right. Well, Long Islands are a little bit of everything, right? And they're very strong, very potent. How about Lamar? How about Lamar for Long Island?
All right, we'll give you another guess on this one. Here's your hint. Some would say that Long Island iced teas are doing too much.
Doing too much.
All that alcohol out there.
All right. No, I kind of had the train of thought with the Lamar pick, but no, it's Josh Allen. That's what it is. That fits.
Is correct.
Yeah, running all over the place, throwing it all over the place, and doing a little too much.
Doing a little
very
too
strong,
much.
very potent.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Can be great.
Can be great.
Can be
we have 3-4
awesome
of them.
Cocktail.
You're off the rails all
But
the time.
sometimes it's too much. It's too much.
Okay. How am I doing better at the ones where you're like, dude, you have no shot at this? Well, you gave me a good hint there, I guess.
Yeah.
But
That was a good hint, right?
pretty good.
I don't know how you'll take this hint, but the cocktail is mimosa. A mimosa at brunch, it hits different. It's an all-time classic. It never.
See, I should have looked at this because
you can't go wrong with a mimosa at brunch.
Yeah, you heavily covet the mimosa,
Absolutely.
so I should have taken that into consideration
Absolutely.
too. All right, well, I'm gonna guess this then, just because of how highly you covet it. I'm gonna guess this is Patrick Mahomes.
God, you're nailing it, my guy. You're nailing it. And you know what the other reason is? Because if you have too many at brunch, the demons start to come out. And in this comparison, the demons being Jackson and Brittany.
Now, the conversation always seems to go back to them, doesn't it? You always seem to bring them up. Quite a bit.
Exactly.
I love how for you it's the greatness of the mimosa is equal to the greatness of Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. Like, you cannot tell me that there is a better tasting cocktail than the mimosas you have at brunch. Like, those just always without fail hit. The only time that they don't hit is when you don't get enough champagne in them. But then you don't go back to that place for brunch.
Fuck them.
All right, last one. A bush latte.
Dak Prescott.
Ooh, a good guess, but no. Do you want the hint?
No, let me get one more here. Daniel Jones.
I would say you're colder at this point.
Then, yeah, I'll take the hint.
You loved them in college, but as you get into adulthood, you realize they're not that good.
I feel like that's a throw at Lamar, some shade at Lamar, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You tell me who this is. I'm not sure.
I'll give the audience one chance to answer this correctly.
Nothing.
Baker Mayfield.
Okay. What's the full?
I just told you. I mean, he was great in college, and then we get into adulthood, and you realize,
like
he sucks.
Like you're buying piss beer, like college piss beer.
Yeah, and you love it
great.
In college. It's great.
Yeah,
in college, you can get by on Busch Light in college, and then when you become an adult, you start making some money. You upgrade. You start drinking wine. You start having mimosas at brunch. You're having Scotch and whiskey at dinner time with the steak. You kind of leave the Busch Light in the past.
Maybe there's like a little spot though in your heart where it's like every now and then, absolutely, it never hurts.
Every
now and then, you just want to turn one on and you want to drink a couple of those shotgun.
Get back to those days,
right? There's like a sliver of that.
You yearn for those days.
Yeah, but I definitely agree that you definitely leave it behind.
Yep.
You go into the more sophisticated drinks.
You remember those days fondly. You remember the Rose Bowl against Georgia, and you tend to turn a blind eye to his more recent years.
QB cocktails with Lucas.
QB cocktails. All right, let's go ahead. Let's talk AFC South. Okay, Al, what do you say we start out with the last place team and work our way up? Starting out with the Texans.
I just want to say I feel like off the rip, I feel like this is the only team that honestly is very juicy in this whole division to even talk about at this point. I feel like the rest of them are kind of, I don't know, not as interesting as the Texans this offseason. I think the Texans have had a very busy offseason compared to the other three. I don't know.
That is fair. They've had a lot of signings. But let's start out with the coaching staff first. They bring in, can we say the hottest head coach? I guess the hottest head coach that was hired, that was in the coaching pool. I'm not saying that D'Amico Ryans is hot, but I'm also not saying.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that, because that's something that I feel like you need to clarify.
Yeah, but again, not a bad looking guy. But very popular head coaching signing.
Also, Houston Texans legend.
Houston Texans legend. D'Amico Ryans. What do you make of it? I mean, the last 49ers defensive coordinator to get hired as a head coach was Robert Saleh, who has a top 3 defense in the NFL.
But a bottom 3 offense last year.
It was a very bad offense.
They were not bottom 3, but pretty bad.
I can't imagine that they were bottom 3, but they were very bad.
They were pretty bad.
And he gets Aaron Rodgers this offseason, so that's great for them. But D'Amico Ryans, what do you make of that head coach signing?
I think they finally, for real, got an adult in the room head coach, so they're not just going to sweep out the room in 1 year. I think they finally have a coach they can kind of build around, and it seems like the franchise is finally going to get moving here. I don't know. It's been like these last couple of years, it feels like they've kind of been like purgatory almost a little bit, like kind of just treading water and like not really doing much anything. This definitely feels like a hire that has some actual like vision and like some sort of like, this is where we want to go. Like they hired Lovie Smith last year. Like
it was a bit strange.
They've had some strange moves recently, but this one is, and this whole offseason honestly has been surprisingly good for them.
Yeah, for the most part, I would say there's definitely some really interesting signings on here where it's, I don't know if it's good, I don't know if it's bad.
Just to, before we get into the signings too deep, like D'Amico Ryans, okay, like clearly talented defensive mind from the 49ers sacred tree, the Shanahan tree. We talk about it a lot. Good candidate that a lot of teams would have wanted.
Yep.
Check one. You get your franchise quarterback in the draft, CJ Stroud. You check another box. Like that's a big box to check.
Hopefully.
And then
a hopeful franchise quarterback.
Yeah, well, I'm saying if all this works out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we were saying before the draft, they're probably going to want to take their edge rusher of choice or their defensive player of choice so that D'Amico Ryans has his blue chip top 5 pick. Bosa. Well, guess what? They trade up and go get that guy.
Yep.
So they've got those 3 like marquee things that they can kind of build this team around, and then combine that with the offseason they've had in general where they went on a signings bonanza. Yep. And they signed a bunch of players, and some of them, the contracts kind of vary lengthwise, and like some of them are here for a year, some of them are here for a couple, but like
a lot of them are here for a year.
So it's really like kind of a noticeable jumpstart to something compared to the last couple of years, which have felt like again, a lot of treading water and just not being that competitive and just gathering draft picks and dealing with the Deshaun Watson fallout and I don't know. It's been a much more optimistic outlook for them, I feel like, and even with their pretty abysmal season last year, I'd be feeling pretty good on the whole about the last couple of months for them.
Yeah, I agree in some aspects. It almost kind of feels like to me that this GM is kind of having like, all right, you know what? I'm going to buy in. I'm going to have 1 year. I'm going to get a rookie quarterback. I'm going to get a defensive end that could be the future. I'm going to sign a bunch of people to a 1-year deal and see what happens. I'm going to get the best coach that I can possibly get and then see what happens.
Do you think, well, let's, before we get into, season implications for all these things, like, why don't we rifle through some of the people that they brought in as free agents?
Sure. Offensively, they bring in Mike Boone and Devin Singletary at the running back position. Singletary was on a 1-year deal worth up to $3.75 million. In the wide receiver position, they get Noah Brown. Where was he? Was he Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
He's a signing that that people have been kind of liking for them. And by the way, their wide receiver depth chart is horrible. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is very bad. So this dude might actually be kind of a contributor. Like it's
I
rough.
imagine that he will be. Robert Woods signed a 2-year, 15.
He'll definitely be a contributor. Yeah,
to $15.25 million deal. Max value of 17 mils. So that one's a little interesting.
that one feels a little bit too like an FU to the Titans a little bit, because they remember they got him from the Rams, and then like he was kind of a dud.
Well, he got injured.
Yeah, but
like week 1.
Wasn't it supposed to be a longer deal and they just cut him? Like, I don't know. Go division rival. Spicy.
I don't know. That's like the first signing where I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Dude,
I don't know
their
if
depth chart is pitiful.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the answer.
And they traded away their best receiver.
Yep. Brandon Cooks being gone. They fully revamp the tight end room. They bring in Andrew Beck, Dalton Schultz, 1-year deal, $9 million. That's a good signing in my opinion. And Eric Tomlinson. Go ahead and hit it for me, Al.
Who?
They bring in a lot of offensive linemen, including Greg Little.
Who?
They re-signed Larry Tunsil to a 3-year, $75 million contract extension.
Man, that dude is a trooper for sticking on that team, that garbage-ass, wretched team for all these years now.
He's making big bucks, so
yeah.
Money's not everything. He wants to be a competitor, but at the same time, it's not bad. I also said Larry Tunsil. His name is
Laramie
Tunsil.
You dumb bitch.
They acquire the elder Shaq Mason in a trade with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not dogging the trade. The Texans are receiving the 7th-round pick from the Bucs in exchange for the 6th-rounder. And then they signed Mason to a 3-year extension worth up to $36 million, 22 in guarantees. Not bad. He's up there. You can't deny that.
Yeah. But
right?
on a team where it's constructed of rentals, I mean,
exactly.
Hey,
it's good to
why
have.
not? Yeah.
It's good to have. And then Scott Quessenberry re-signed with them as well, the center.
So this is all offensive side of the ball still.
Yep.
Okay.
We're now getting into the defensive portion. The edge, Chase Winovich.
Patriots legend.
Browns legend. Michigan Wolverines legend. Signed with them. I don't think they've released details on his contract, so who cares? Sheldon Rankins, 1-year deal. Hassan Ridgeway, 1-year deal. Corey Little.
How Sheldon Rankins still getting
I was going to say that.
He's up there.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's been around for a minute.
Do we know where he came from?
I mean, he's a Jets legend, and then he's kind of bounced around to some teams. I know he's on the Browns for a while.
He got a 1-year
Vikings, I think, for a minute.
$10.5 million.
He's a journeyman defensive tackle. I mean, that's all he really is at this point.
That is a solid contract for a journeyman. Corey Littleton, Denzel Perryman.
Perryman's low-key underrated. Good player.
Both linebackers on 1-year deals. I think Littleton, actually, I don't know if we have the details out for that one yet.
Littleton a couple years ago was a splash signing by the Raiders that I think we were hoping the Lions would get Corey Littleton back a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. And then, you didn't hear his name very much. So, good thing.
I believe this is recent. Shaquille Griffin, who I think was cut by the Jags.
He was.
2 years after his signing.
1 year?
No, he got signed before Urban showed up.
Did he? Okay.
The year going into
okay.
Urban's year.
Okay.
Yeah. He signed a 1-year deal with the Texans. And then they add a little bit more to the DB room with Taviri Thomas. I'm probably butchering his name, but he re-signed with the team. And then they get in MJ Stewart, who re-signed. Jimmy Ward, which I think is a great signing. That guy's a fucking asshole out on the field.
He's gonna I'm going to guess that the D'Amico Ryans coaching hire is 100% why he's there.
Yeah,
100%.
And then they got a long snapper, John Weeks.
I mean, I think of all the teams we're going to talk about in these like off-season shows, like that's the lengthiest list of
probably
people up and down the roster. Like pretty noticeable change. But yeah, a lot of short-term deals, a lot of rentals. Like, I don't know. It's not really
A lot of older guys, a lot of guys that have been unproven in the league. No big name signings, which I understand why. It's still a rebuild.
It's almost like you want to come in year one with these, three blue chip elements of the team, with your new coach, with your quarterback, and with, who's the guy they drafted at 3? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his
Will
name.
Anderson.
And Will Anderson. Like, you're kind of like, you're coming in year one with them, and it's almost like you want to just like surround them with like something.
Experience.
Yeah.
You want to surround them with experience, guys who have managed to be in the league for this long.
Because like, compare this roster to the one from last year.
It's a night and day.
I mean,
Very
it's much better on paper. So I think and also I think part of it too, I don't know if this is how the GM is looking at it, but like, this division's kind of up for grabs.
A little bit.
I think we'll talk about the Jags. They're clearly the front runner here, but like, this thing is up for grabs. So,
I suppose.
Yeah, we've seen worse to first happen
before.
Anything else you want to say on the Texans before we jump into
No,
three here?
I feel like I got my point across. Like, yeah, they signed a bunch of people. They signed a bunch of veterans.
Not to mention their draft is probably pretty deep.
I would say that their draft was night and day from all these signings. Well, not night and day, but their draft was very good, in my opinion. The signings are good, not great, in my opinion.
Overall, we're going to rank them at the end. Yeah, okay. All
right. Indianapolis Colts, they signed Gardner Minshew to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal.
Leading with a big hitter.
The big hitter.
Oh, you know what? We did forget one Texans move. They bring back Case Keenum. Texans legend.
Pharaoh Brown signed with the Colts. Isaiah McKenzie.
Give me money. Money me. Money now.
Ashton Dolan. Taven Bryan. Who the fuck are these people? Samson Ebukam.
He's actually somewhat
good.
Notable.
Yeah, that is a good signing. 3-year, $27 million deal that includes $11 million in year one. Tyquan Lewis was a re-signing. EJ Speed re-signed on a 2-year, $9 million deal. I bet you can't name me what position he plays.
Linebacker.
And the big splash for the Colts this offseason. Kicker Matt Gay signed a 4-year, $22.5 million deal. Bit boring, wouldn't you say?
Not much to get into.
No, that's nonsense. That's garbage.
I feel like this makes sense.
I think there's a really... sorry, go ahead.
They're gripping. They're gripping for dear life. They're white-knuckling the steering wheel right now, ladies and gentlemen. They're trying to hold on to this idea that they are still playoff contenders, that they're still Super Bowl contenders.
They're not.
They're not.
Yeah. Well, you're not a Super Bowl contender the year that you draft the quarterback who needs to develop in the top 5.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean...
Which is such a shame.
I know it's simplistic to put it all on that, but that's a pretty big element.
Yep.
You don't see a lot of Super Bowl window teams doing that. You usually have a quarterback who's played a year or two at least, and then they're kind of starting to make a push. First-time head coach. I think those two moves are their biggest moves, for sure. And I think they're both good moves, but you had a window where, like, you were kind of in the thick of it, and this division was, like, firmly in your hands.
Yeah.
Well,
firmly could have been. I mean, like, you were serious playoff contenders. Tennessee was serious playoff contenders, but like both of them were battling for the division.
I mean, they're baffling a little bit because, like, I mean, just think back to last year a little bit. Like, Matt Ryan, horrible. I
called that.
You did. Sam Ellinger played a good chunk of last year. Horrible.
Yeah.
Jeff Saturday was the head coach for a good chunk of the year.
Oh, my God. I completely forgot about that.
Horrible. Jonathan Taylor was banged up all year. Shaq Leonard missed a good chunk of last year. Quentin Nelson, one of the best O-linemen in the league, played like dog shit last year.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing fell off a cliff last year. And it's almost like is that even a year that you can like come back from? I mean, they're starting to completely
Implode.
not implode, but like retool. They're starting to retool pretty heavy, and like
Oh, that's a good word, Al. That is exactly what they're doing.
because they're not rebuilding.
No,
They're not tearing the entire thing down and like starting from ground zero, but they are taking key parts of the operation here and giving them a facelift and like changing things and like you really have to hope last year didn't derail your franchise too bad.
yeah,
but it did pretty bad. I mean, it was that Jeff
It was
Saturday
horrible.
hire was bafflingly stupid and crazy.
uh,
Only
Yeah.
team that can beat was the Raiders. How funny is that? Fuck you, Raiders. I'm so done with your shit.
I mean, like I said, they are white knuckling this hope that they have of still being a playoff contender.
And these signings, by the way, are nothing to write home about.
No, I mean,
No.
we didn't even really talk about any of these individual signings, and for good reason. Who gives a fuck?
And imagine too, like I said it like leading up to the draft and when we started talking about this stuff, like I'm a believer in Anthony Richardson. I think he is going to be special. But what if he's not? Like there's a good chance.
Right again.
There's a good chance that this dude just doesn't pan out because that does happen pretty often.
Yeah.
And then they're really in bad shape. I mean, you took a bunch of swings at veterans, falls flat.
At that point, you got to blow it up.
Yeah.
You got to get what you can, unload all the heavy contracts.
And their wide receiver room is not the best either, by the way. I was
very pitiful.
Dunking on the Texans a little bit, but yeah, Michael Pittman's their one guy, and even he's not like a total game changer or anything. He's like a very good receiver, but like not. Yeah, that's about as high of a praise as I can give him.
I think his peak is very good receiver.
Yeah.
Right.
So what is this team's like? What is their like? I don't know. What is their identity? I guess like because Shane Steichen comes from Eagles as the offensive coordinator. Sorry, I got him the Cardinals guy, Jonathan Gannon, mixed up. New coach, like new quarterback. Like, what are they gonna do this year with these moves? And was this offseason telegraphed to you about this upcoming year?
Let's see what we got here.
Just rolling the dice.
Yep.
This is the division for it. I mean, and the AFC is tough too, though. I mean, that's like it's not an easy conference to just be winging it. Like you're going up against Mahomes and everybody else.
Yeah,
I think you're in pretty bad shape compared to most everybody else here.
100%.
So
it's not looking good. Almost as bad as what the Titans are looking like.
Yikes. Perfect segue.
But you can't do this to me.
They get a new GM in, Ray Carthon.
You know what? Can we just take a second to acknowledge that literally the Titans got rid of their GM and are doing what they're doing right now. And it all started with the trading of Hollywood Brown and the drafting of Malik Willis.
Oh, yeah.
Those were the two big points that just like completely started tanking this thing.
Yep.
And ruining their momentum going into last year.
I could be crazy, but they were the first seed last year. Not this past season, but the season before.
So the 21 season.
I'm like almost somewhat certain that they were the first seed.
I mean, there have been times in the last couple of years where they were, and like they've been like marching into the playoffs with a high seed. So
yeah, I'm almost certain they were the first seed.
But that's the thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they got bounced. So
yeah. Absolutely. So they trade out AJ Brown. Who do they bring in?
Traylon Burks.
They bring in Traylon Burks, obviously last year. The wide receiver room was decimated throughout the entire year. What do they do in the draft? Absolutely nothing except take, I think, maybe one guy, but very late in the round. But they bring in Chris Moore, the household name Chris Moore. They bring in, re-sign Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. probably a special teamer. They make some good additions to the offensive line. They take a offensive tackle in the first round of the draft this past year or a couple months ago. They signed Andre Dillard, 3-year, $29 million contract. They bring in Daniel Brunskin. They bring in Corey Levin. So they're really trying to make Derrick Henry still work.
Yeah, but they're also losing Taylor Lewan.
Losing a very key part of their offensive line, Taylor Lewan.
Which he's a guy I'm curious. Like, I'm surprised he hasn't caught on anywhere else yet.
He's very old, and he deals with a lot of injuries. He's old in lineman's year.
Yeah, but the league is so
he'll get
decimated at offensive line. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many teams that just have dog shit lines.
He'll get signed somewhere. My guess is with a top team once one of their tackles goes down. He'll probably wait until then. On the defensive ball, which was really lacking last year for the Titans, they did a couple big moves. And by big moves, I mean they released Bud Dupree. They signed Aziz Al-Shahir, the linebacker, to a 1-year, $5 million deal. Some other linebacker, Ben Neiman. They bring in the very injury-prone, but at times very good Sean Murphy-Bunting. And then they signed Arden Key, an unproven free agent, to a 3-year, $21 million deal. With
Arden Key, a guy who was on the Niners for a minute, had a brief stint with the Jags.
Yeah,
and then I don't think he caught on there as much. I think it was decent, but
he had flashes, right? Unproven, had flashes.
Well, my God, I mean, this team is like kind of a completely different wavelength than the Colts. The Colts, I'm kind of like, what are you doing? Like, wondering what they're up to.
This is another white knuckler.
To me, this team is clearly saying the ship's going down. Like, ship is going down.
No, I think like they're like, fuck the throwing game, even though they just took a quarterback in the second round. We're gonna ride Derrick Henry out. We're gonna get our money's worth, and then
dude, if I'm Derrick Henry, get me out of here. Come on.
We're gonna try to facelift the defense with the core guys that we still have, which
not a lot.
Couldn't tell you one of them.
Simmons, I mean Jeffrey Simmons, monster.
Okay, yeah, he's pretty good. But other than that, this team is gripping onto the idea that they can still compete, which, let's not forget, I think were one game out of the playoffs last year because they lost their division, right?
I think so. But that division, I mean, come on.
It was their division to lose. You know, we can start out by saying that. Not healthy years for Henry, not healthy year for Tannehill.
Well, I guess those guys are really the two big question marks going into the offseason. The rest of the offseason here, it's like we might be going into a preseason here where neither one of them are on the team.
Very well could be.
I think they're both trade and cut candidates.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll both be on the Titans starting.
I think if Levis really looks like he's day one ready. Dude, this team is bad. They're gonna try and get him ready.
They'll probably wait until Garoppolo goes down in week 3.
He's not gonna make it to week 3.
If he makes it there,
yeah,
and then trade Tannehill to the Raiders, depending on how their first couple of weeks go.
How you feeling, Raider fans?
Yeah, no, this team. I think you predicted their downfall just 1 year too early.
Well, I'm predicting it now. The ship's going down.
I know, but you had them at like 5 wins last year.
Yeah, but like they were more on that side than not. I know their record didn't end up there, but they were definitely more so on the like downslide.
I mean, they probably finished like what 8 and 9.
If they were in any other AFC division, they would have been dunked on.
Yeah, I guess that's fair to say.
But at the same time, NFC, they could be a division winner. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Last year, I'm saying. But
so true.
This year, to me, this is just I think they're really getting ready here. I think head coach fine. Vrabel, you're fine. He's staying. They're not going to get rid of him. I think Derrick Henry and Tannehill.
I don't know.
Keep an eye on him. I don't know if they have them going into week 1, then maybe they're white knuckling it like you're saying. But to me,
new GM
is usually a sign of let's do everything from scratch.
Am I tripping, or did the Colts get a new GM too?
I don't think they did. I think they still have Ballard. Chris Ballard.
All right. Well, new GM with the Titans. I think this is the same exact case as the Colts. Let's see what we got here. And if it doesn't go his way, I think not only is Henry gone, not only is Tannehill gone, but I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say that Mike Vrabel's gone next year too.
He's made that franchise actually watchable and notable for 5-6 seasons now.
Yeah, it's a recency bias. What have you done for me lately?
And here's the thing, too. If you move on from Tannehill and Henry, because besides Jeffrey Simmons, those are – and you're not going to get rid of him. Those are really your only pieces, really. You're not even getting that much for him.
No.
Derrick Henry's pushing 30.
But you know what you are getting for him? Cap space.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But I don't know. I really hope the Levis thing works out. I feel bad for Tannehill. The dude keeps just getting prematurely swept out of the room. Like, he's been playing pretty good since he's gotten there.
He's been playing fantastic.
Yeah. It's almost like the inverse of the Goff situation.
Yeah.
Goff, they've like kind of been patient and like seeing what's going on. They did draft someone to develop this year, but like not in the same way where it's 2 back-to-back and like mid rounds going like, all right, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
all right, let's talk about Jags, division champs. Had a bit of an interesting offseason. They bring in CJ Beathard, 2-year, $4.5 million contract to back up Golden Boy, Trevor Lawrence.
Did you call him CJ Beathard?
Yeah. That's the way I read his name.
Beathard. And
I know it's Beathard.
He was already there, wasn't he? He was re-signed.
Oh, it was a re-sign.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yep.
Tell you who they did bring in, though, to back up ETN was D'Ernest Johnson, which I like.
Yeah.
I think D'Ernest Johnson is a hard runner. I don't think it's going to be the same as Cleveland because I don't think they have the greatest offensive line. Like Cleveland had a very solid offensive line when he was there.
Man, that almost makes me think they would have been a good spot for like a Jamal Williams, 1-2 punch with ETN. Like, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like Kamara with the Saints is like a little bit more of a premier back by himself. I mean, they spread it out a little bit. But I don't know. I digress. I feel like this team might have been good for Jamal, but carry on.
I don't hate that. I think that would have been a good idea. They franchise tag Evan Ingram, who was terrible in New York, but I would say had a decent season. With
he definitely gave his career outlook a little bit of a facelift last year.
Yeah,
I think he definitely saved himself from floundering out of the NFL.
And I think he makes more this year on the tag than he did last year.
He's probably not super happy about that, though. I mean, you want to get your bag, right? I don't know. He'll get a bigger non-exclusive one now if he plays well.
Yeah, non-exclusive franchise tag, too. So they bring in Josh Wells, the offensive tackle, to add a little bit more to that line, but I don't think that was a huge add. No big signings on the defensive side, but they do bring in Roy Robertson Harris on the 3-year, $30 million extension.
He's old.
Are we talking about the same guy?
Yeah, 29.
God, he is.
Yeah.
7 years in the league. How about that?
Yeah.
Obviously, they probably feel like he's a key part of the defense. Man, I'm really slurring my words today.
It's the cocktail hour.
It's the cocktail hour. Yeah, just a bunch of re-signings. They feel like they can run it back with this team. I don't blame them.
Yeah, and also, if again, not to completely put it on one player, but if you really do think Trevor Lawrence started to become special last year, maybe this year he can be even more so, and he can kind of elevate you a little bit further, even though you didn't go on a signings bonanza. I mean, last year they spent a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And they're also getting back Calvin Ridley, which is a huge
oh yeah,
this is a huge part of that offense potentially. Rocking number 0, I thought I heard, which I don't
like
love. Don't love that trend. Not a
I
fan.
love it.
But like, yeah, that could add a whole other dimension to the passing game. Marvin Jones leaves, goes back to the Lions.
Yep.
So yeah, Kirk, Ingram, and Ridley is kind of your 3. But yeah, interesting. I don't know. I think you really need to just kind of hope Lawrence continues to develop and become a superstar. I think you started to see it last year, and there's no reason not to believe that he wouldn't. I mean, he's pretty good. The playoff win was pretty miraculous, so
yeah,
definitely clutch.
Peterson's second year too, so
Yeah,
he's got a year under his belt. He knows the organization, he knows the players a lot better. They're bringing back a lot of players. So
I just got a flashback from a pod we did like a year ago, like a similar thing where it was like off season, like discussions about these teams. A year ago about the Jags, I said I remember my exact thing for them was they finally got an adult in the room with Doug Peterson, and this year is like what Trevor Lawrence's first year should have been.
Yeah,
to me, that did happen.
Yeah,
and but weirdly, it also reminds me of that's exactly how I feel about the Texans. It's just like same thing. It's like they finally got an adult in the room,
and they got a guy, and
they have a quarterback, hopefully. So like same kind of vibes, and now we're kind of seeing with the Jaguars like. Once they found the right coach, just I don't think Doug Peterson's like Kyle Shanahan or like Belichick, not like a Andy Reid, like a genius in like some aspect of the game, but like he's just like a super solid all around coach.
Yeah,
really good coach.
I think so too.
Really above average NFL coach who's like really solid everywhere and like just knows what he's doing. So, I mean, some offensive creativity, obviously, and stuff. But
yeah.
I think they're good hands. I think they didn't really do a whole lot this offseason because they kind of didn't need to. Anything about their draft? I mean, I don't really have any big notes that stuck out to me as far as
remember.
As far as that goes. I don't really know.
Yeah. No, I think it's smart what they're doing. Run it back. Get another year with the guys.
I think Calvin Ridley could be huge.
Calvin Ridley could be a game changer.
But also sneaky old. He's like 27, 28 already because he missed 2 years of his career.
Yeah.
So like he's got to kind of get up, hit the ground running with that offense, and I think he will. But yeah, that's just a little note to also keep in mind. But receivers kind of play older too. I don't know. Some guys can stick around for a while. I mean, Marvin Jones, 33, I think. So 32.
Yeah, he's up there. He's up there too. On all, let's go ahead. Let's put it in order. Dead last.
Dead last. Titans. I mean, I have to, I think they tried to put some band-aids on some things, but yeah, the Titanic is capsizing. So it's this thing is just it's nuclear meltdown time for this team, in my opinion. So Tennessee.
I'm going to go Indianapolis. I think they still have, or Tennessee still has a glimmer of hope. Indianapolis, I don't know. Like with Tennessee, at least, they take somebody at quarterback for the second year in a row, which is mind-boggling, but it's mind-boggling because they have a good product at that position already.
Yeah. So many other needs.
They didn't do a whole lot for them, but they did bring in some help with the offensive line, which also helps their other star, Derrick Henry. And I guess I would say that they did a decent job at helping the two cornerstones of their franchise. They didn't do a great job of backing up the other side of the ball, which was the real concern last year, and that's why I put them at 3.
For 3 for me, I'm going to say Jags.
Oh, wow.
I just don't feel like, I mean, I know we just kind of came off talking about them pretty positively, but like if we're rating their offseason here, I mean, they didn't really do all that much to kind of like push them forward. They're kind of just relying on running it back and relying on Lawrence to continue to be great, and hopefully Calvin really pans out. But that was like an investment they made earlier than the offseason, so it's kind of just nothing burger for me. So that with the other two teams in front of them, to me, I feel like they both made pretty big swings in a direction. At least it's like some forward movement. It's kind of none for them. So
yeah,
kind of have the Jags at 3 for me.
Okay. Who's your 2? I got to imagine it's
Colts.
Indy.
It's Colts.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's because I really do believe in Richardson. I do think him and the head coach are really the two big notable changes to their team. And I think it will work out for them because, my God, they've needed a consistent quarterback, and they've needed like an injection here with the head coach. Like, I think they addressed the key things they need to address. The rest of the roster, we'll see. I think hopefully they can kind of recover. And did they do enough in the offseason? Maybe.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, you're a lot more down on them than I am, I think. But
yeah.
They'll be my number 2. And I still don't love their offseason, but those 2 moves are pretty major for them to make.
I'm going to put Houston at 2.
Wow, that's very surprising.
While I think that they added a lot to the team, this year is going to be, let's see what we can develop. Let's see what we can build off of. Let's see who we can build off of. They signed a lot of one-year deals, meaning prove it, right? Meaning we like you, but we don't like you enough to make sure that you're here, a part of the end result of our rebuild, which everybody knows the end result of a rebuild is a Super Bowl. Not that many teams get there, but that is the goal for every single rebuild. I don't think they brought in a lot of guys that will stick around. I think their best signing was probably Dalton Schultz. I can see him having a successful career there in Houston.
Again, a 1-year deal, though.
Again, a 1-year deal. But, you have to hope, if you're Houston, that some of these guys will stick around, right? The offensive lineman signings, I think, are a bit high considering age and injury.
But you got the cap to do it.
Yeah, the cap.
They're not going to be around long term. I mean, Tunsil will, because Tunsil is kind of a mainstay with them. But like, you got to protect your quarterback.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
You need to do it. And I'm just gonna like transition into them being my number 1 pick for the offseason for that division. All those are valid. All those are like, it's a lot of Band-Aids. It's a lot of like, we're just trying to fill the gaps, and we're trying to put a product on the field this year that's like not a total joke.
Yeah,
I agree. But for me, if we're grading the off seasons of these teams and this division, they are by far number 1 because they finally, like I said earlier in the show, seem like they have an identity. Like they're going somewhere. They have a coach they actually are going to build around, and not just like be a Band-Aid head coach for a year.
Yeah.
They actually invested a top 3 draft pick into a quarterback and don't have Davis Mills or Brian Hoyer or Tyrod Taylor playing for them. Case Keenum. They actually have someone they can develop. And they got a blue chip player with Will Anderson and a bunch of other guys later in the draft. I mean, they have like actual identity. And I don't think it's going to probably be super pretty year 1, and maybe it will be. I think they could be that team that surprises everybody and goes from worst to first, because this division is so shaky. Jags are not locked in to go be number 1. I mean,
no, I
think
agree. It's anybody's race.
They've got the tools to do it, but that does not mean that they're not Kansas City. They're not going to go in and stomp everybody and be number 1. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Houston did enough this offseason to completely really change the trajectory of their franchise, which is about as much as you could ask for in an offseason. So for me, that's like A plus, like as best as you can do in their circumstances. I think the trade to 3 to get back in the top 3 to go get Anderson, a little rich. Maybe he's that good.
I love that.
Move. And maybe it's worth it. But
they said we'll give it up. We're gonna go get our guys. So. I love that move. Yeah, I think the only thing for me that separates the Texans from the Jaguars is the Texans seem maybe a year and a half or so behind the Jaguars of where the Jaguars are now, where they know they can win with their roster because they've done it before. And instead of bringing in this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy, they instead choose to keep chemistry where it's at. They ended last year on a high note.
But they also did that last offseason where they said, we're going to bring in this guy and that guy and that guy. They did that last year.
Yeah.
They did do that.
But, good on them for not overbiting at this idea that, we have to go.
We're in our window. Let's overpay.
We have to go now.
Yeah.
Give Peterson another year with Lawrence. Give Lawrence another year to develop chemistry with Ridley and Kirk and Ingram. Give him a chance to, continue developing the defense, which has big name players. It has that caliber. Don't overthink it. Keep it simple, stupid, which I think is exactly what they did. They brought back their talent. They know how to win with it. And I think Peterson is going to be able to excel the team in that way. I think that's kind of why I put them at 1.
I think the biggest thing supporting that too is going out of last year, where they built all their momentum on the back half, a lot of their momentum on the back half, and snuck into the playoffs and then got a win. They really are rounding into form now.
Yeah.
Not like they started hot and it all fell apart. Yeah. So I think they kind of earned the off-season approach of let's just kind of bring the band back together and maybe add a couple smaller pieces here and there, not
secure pieces.
Yeah, just
make sure we can
solidify instead of just starting over in a bunch of key areas and adding a bunch of splash players. So
yeah, no, I totally agree.
It's interesting though that these two top teams, I think there's actually an interesting conversation to have about them. The other two I feel like are pure nightmares for different reasons, but these two teams are actually kind of intriguing going into the year.
They are. And they're doing a real quick flip-flop. Titans and Colts were sitting on top for so many years, and now Texans and Jags are going to kind of try to retake the throne.
Yeah, we'll see. They have been historically bad, so we'll see.
All right. What do you say we close the show out? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us. Thank you again for listening to another Gridiron Zeros podcast. Quick, Al, NBA Finals starts tonight. By the time this airs,
I don't give a single shit.
Game 1 will already have happened, possibly Game 2. But it's Miami Heat versus Denver Nuggets. Go ahead and give me your pick. This is the unofficial lock of the week to win the series.
Geez. I'm going to go with Miami. They kind of clawed their way in. So
All right. I love Miami. I love Jimmy Butler, so I'm taking Miami too.
Although that to me screams that they're not going to win.
It does to me.
I think everybody's kind of got that feeling that they're going to.
I mean, Denver, I think, is minus 400 to win the series. So, yeah. All right.
Basketball talk.
That's the unofficial lock of the week. We will catch you back soon.
I like that. Don't commit to it. Don't commit to a timetable.
We're not saying next week, just because it's the summertime and we're starting to enjoy the beautiful weather we have here in Michigan.
Shot a round of golf for the first time since I was a child. So that was fun.
We're golfing now. It's going to be a fun summer. We're
best friends. I love you, my dude.
We're going to continue to release episodes, maybe not every week. But we'll try to aim every 2 weeks at latest.
But hey, you know what? We are going to do is we're going to upload full episodes to YouTube.
So which is a great segue, Al.
Go watch them. Go give them some likes. Share them with your friends. I know I know Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever is the preferred podcasting format, but we're trying something new. So
yeah, if you're listening to this, you're obviously listening on Apple Podcasts. Well, actually, maybe not. You could be listening on YouTube. Either way, check us out on YouTube, Gridiron Zeros. Check us out on TikTok, Gridiron Zeros. Check us out on Twitter, Gridiron Zeros. Be sure to make good choices and good decisions. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.
later.
Thank you.